He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the lights. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. Here you go.
Class 3A Week 6 rankings heading your way. My name is Caden and joined alongside Andrew Brown. And guys, Class 3A fans, this is a massive, massive week because on Thursday, we're expecting Thursday, I guess. We don't know for sure. Expecting Thursday, brackets to be out. When those come out that afternoon, hop in. We'll be live that afternoon, night, whatever it may be. Angel and I will be here live on YouTube, live on socials, breaking down each and every bracket and each team's path to state. Super excited, super fun week. It's going to be absolute madness in the best way possible. But before we get to these rankings, we do got some news we wanted to share. Andrew, a coach, a 3A coach specifically, really in need of some help. And so we're going to call upon you guys and our viewers to help in any way possible, Andrew.
Yeah, and the whole baseball community, a family, let's come together. You know, Coach Dirks, as we mentioned, 3A out of Spencer, and he and his family are going through such a rough time right now. The floods, which have impacted so many, have also impacted his family as well. Their houses underwater, their cars, all their belongings, everything. It has been impacted to the point where future events are starting to come in jeopardy. You just don't know what's going to happen. And the rigors of the baseball season are tough enough. But now Coach Dirks has to deal with all of this and not having a home to come to at the end of the day. And so that is something that's I know it's weighing on him and his family. So there is a GoFundMe account that is pinned to our social media accounts. Go there, go to Twitter and so forth, and you can go there, click on it, donate. Plus, there are specific items that you can donate because their chances are they may not be able to get to and fro very well. Obviously, their cars aren't operational right now, and the roadways aren't necessarily all smooth sailing. So just getting out to places are going to be tough for them. So if you could get actual physical items brought there or sent, that would be great as well. And again, just a chance to help out, a baseball family that we all want to come together here. So again, if you get the chance, go at it. Like it, spread the word if anything else, but please go ahead and donate what you can. A little goes a long way. I know, Kate, that they had a goal set at 15. I'm not sure where they're at right now, but I really hope that we as a baseball family can go well beyond that, double it, triple it, quadruple it if possible, because they have everything that they have to pick up and get new of, right? So hopefully we can go ahead and exceed what their goal is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the page right now. Again, you can find that on our Twitter. 111 donations already. Just over $10,000 raised. Really, really cool stuff. There was an update on here saying that they're in Storm Lake staying with family and that they're just looking for clothing, medium and large, women's, large. There's a whole list of stuff right here for anything you can do to help. So, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll point you in the right direction that we can. But again, super tragic. And again, we're calling on our friends here at IABaseball to help out as much as possible. But we've got Class 3A rankings here for you guys, top 15, and we've got honorable mentions as well. Before I reveal 15 through 11, as you can see, we do have honorable mentions: Benton, Sadell, Algona, Lewis Central, Creston, and Mount Pleasant. Your honorable mentions this week in Class 3A. You'll get bonus points for listening to me and paying attention to that since they're not listed anywhere on the screen. But there's your honorable mentions. Andrew, the Clippers started preseason ranked, kind of been floating on the outside looking in. Man, 5-0 week, including a sweep over Marion. That'll get you in the top 15, won't it?
Oh, and the what they're doing, you look at the batting average, They're, again, top 10 in batting average. In fact, number one, I should say, in batting average. They're, again, 367 total bases. That's amazing. Again, they're also that way in RBIs. They have, by the way, 11 home runs. And I don't know if you know, but that's, again, another top 10 mark, top 5 mark here as we get rolling, or top 10 mark, I should say, 6th overall. That's ahead of Marion, Algona, some really big teams in terms of the home run race there. Pitching wise, they're also there. And I think, again, as I look down the mark for pitching, they've been pretty strong there. But gosh, they do the little things right. I mean, right now they're 4th in team strikeouts. That's something that's worth noting as you go through, in a team that can really do a lot of damage here. But early in the year, last year, you and I pegged it, more so you talked about them and said, hey, this is a team that's could be really sneaky. And in the end, they were a top 3 team, batting average, balls in play. So when they hit it far. And what are we seeing here? When they hit it, it's meaningful hits. It turns into doubles. They're one of the top teams, top 15 teams in terms of extra base hits. So when they hit it, it goes somewhere. It's impactful. It's not just always station to station baseball. You get a walk and a single that can turn to a run within the next at bat really quickly. And I don't care who you are, where you are, that's going to turn into a lot of dangerous stuff there. But the 2 juniors that I think or 3 juniors you should all look at: Ty Fuller, McLean Morgan, Caden Fan, all those guys, 50 plus total bases on the year as juniors. Every one of them 20 plus RBIs, and they're looking pretty good. 2 out of those 3 had 10 or more doubles on the year, and then again, one of the top leaders in extra base hits. So they make it fun and they make it easy. And then on the other side of that as well, they got 3 guys with 30 plus strikeouts, and this is building, right? They were sophomores coming into the junior year. They seem like they're that team that's starting to get this, right? It's starting to really click. And when you sweep Marion like that, outscoring them 15-7, you, I think, have found your groove. Like the movie The Emperor's New Groove. I think we got to say it's the Clippers' new groove. They found it again, or found a new version of it. And at this point in the year, that should scare everybody, as we are just days away from brackets being released.
I was going to say, it's not fair that there's timely wins and non-timely wins, but that is a timely sweep just ahead of bracket release. I mean, there's no better time to get your big wins than a few weeks, or even this week, you could say, right before the brackets come out. The association is going to be paying uber close attention to everything going on. So now's the time to get hot, and the Clippers are doing that. Do got to bring up Pella. I believe they were the biggest jumper this week. Yes, they are. Pella and the Dutch. I got a chance to see them in their one loss actually this week, 5-1. But in the one loss, it came to DCG. I mean, we know what DCG is in Class 4A, and Mr. Hoekstra, that dude was a stud on the mound. I mean, that was a 1-0 loss. Scrapped and clawed. Pella had a few shots to scratch some. They faced a good arm, obviously, and DCG is just potent all around. So I'll pin a 1-0 loss to DCG as fairly impressive, and I was very impressed with the Dutch. And obviously our 3A rankers saw that. 5 other wins outside of that one loss as they jump up 4 spots. Heading into the top 10, though, in Class 3A, Bondurant Farrar gets a jump up 2 spots, and Andrew, I mean, they're the only team in Class 3A to hold the Comets to 1 run or less. And in fact, they beat them. And I mean, you think about the elitists in Class 3A in terms of pitching. I mean, at least when I think about it, I think of Heelan, I think of North Polk, and the guys that we've talked about a lot in the year and in the preseason. Bondurant Farrar is number 1 in qualified in the ERA in qualified innings if you meet that requirement. 1.82 team ERA. I know in our little segment, Andrew said that the ERA is overrated, but that'll tell you something. 1.82 as a team ERA at this point in Class 3A is impressive, and they're led by 2 juniors, Will Potabom, Cole Miller. You also got the senior Jacob Roberts. It's a platoon. It's not just one guy leading the way. I mean, I'm counting 5-6 guys with an ERA below 2 at this point, and then multiple have whips below 1. So the numbers are just consistent all around. This is a team that plays in a really, really tough conference, as we know, in the Raccoon River, and they're sitting right up there. I mean, 8-4 in a tough Raccoon River conference is impressive nonetheless. 17-7 overall for the Blue Jays. They'll be a tough out in whatever bracket they get put in. Moving along here, Solon also rises after a good week. Andrew, you had a little stat that you were telling me about before we recorded on Harlan and the Cyclones that you wanted to share.
Yeah, and I know that Harlan had the big loss to Lewis Central, and that's compounded with the fact that they were swept last week by Glenwood. But I don't think you should be looking at Harlan with alarm bells, right? This is still a big team, and it is still a team that is built to be effective in the postseason because they are top 5 in both walks and fewest strikeouts allowed, and they are the only Class 3A team to claim that. That's dangerous in the postseason. You get there and you go top 5, you get a lot of walks, and on the other end of that, you don't strike out, so you're forcing it, right? One feeds the other, and they're the only team that can claim that they've done that. So if you thought that Harlan was slipping, yeah, maybe in the rankings a little bit, but this is still one of the teams that you don't forget they made a state tournament berth last year, and I think they're on track to do it again. This is a fun team, and I just wanted to point that out because that is something that's not just it's a cool quirky stat. It's an impactful stat that will have major meaning once we hit the postseason.
No doubt. Harlan staying strong at number 7 after a 4-1 week. Let's get into the top 5. And if you're paying attention, we've got movement inside the top 5 yet again.
Yeah.
No shocker here, Class 3A. I'll say a little bit of a tame week last week we kind of talked about. Well, this week, I mean, it's just absolutely insane. In fact, it looks like everybody in the top 5 suffered some sort of loss. I mean, everybody's losing at this point. Honestly, looking down, everyone in the top 8 suffered a loss last week in Class 3A. So madness going down. I mean, it's a class that's showing it's very deep and that there's really no night off. So moving on to number 5, we've got Marion. Just limited action for this team this week. Got swept by Clear Creek Amana. Number 5 here, dropping 3 spots. Andrew, what do you take from the Wolves in limited action last week?
Yeah, it was, again, a handful of games that was it. And, unfortunately, they kind of got caught a little bit. I know that they've had some injuries that they've had to work through. And it was something where we hadn't quite seen Marion struggle mightily yet. And I think that was where we saw their biggest struggle happen. Does it mean that they're going downhill? Certainly not. But it does mean that they are not invincible, that they are, they're in top 5, top 10, top 5 in over 3 offensive categories. The same thing on the pitching side. Fielding, they've been great. So statistically, it seems like they're a juggernaut that can't be beat, but they can. And, it does take a really good performance to do so. But it shows that they're not the Iron Giant, right? They can still be taken down.
No doubt. Well, we've had the same top 4 for most this year. Marion, Waller, Western Dubuque, North Polk. We had Harlan creep up 1 week to number 4 and take those 4 out of their kind of rotation. This week we got a new team inside the top 4, and it is Bishop Heelan. Andrew, we talked a lot. I mean, this was a team preseason ranked. Let's see, preseason ranked number 15, but I think we both knew that this team had a lot higher ceiling than that, and they're showing us that 6 weeks into the year.
Yeah, and they have been the biggest riser over the course of our rankings, right? Starting at 15, made it to 4. Again, that's the overall biggest riser. But getting to see them in 2 games at the Prongi Classic, they are that team, right? They had Solon on the ropes, and Solon pulled it out late. But a crooked 5 spot by that offense early on made a lot of things there. And I think the one thing we forget about Heelan and don't see off the bat, they're top 4 in the class in stolen bases. And they made it known. They made every pitching staff over the weekend feel very uncomfortable. And it was really fun overall. Again, now they sit pitching, they're ranking top 3, batting average against strikeouts, walks, team ERA, and then they add on the offense there, and they went 12-4 over Ankeny, and again a strong Ankeny team at that, and it made it look like it was easy. They just hit the ball well. They had nearly 7-8 extra base hits in that game alone, so they just put it on time and time again. So it was a fun weekend to see them, and they didn't even throw their best guys in Lefevre and Bleeker, and only imagine if you get those guys plus the bullpen that they have, it's going to be near impossible.
It'll be interesting to see that draw, Andrew, in a team that's way, way out west. You never know how
Yeah.
they kind of get crumbled up. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I could see them being in the same little bracket as Harlan, and that'd be a shame because both those teams, man, that'd be a really good sub-state final. I don't know anything, don't come at me, but just knowing how the geography works, and sometimes it
Yeah.
comes down to that. So it'll be interesting on Thursday to see how that cookie crumbles. But moving on to number 3 here, Andrew, Wahlert Catholic just maintaining itself, staying pretty steady here inside our top 5.
Mhm.
Brandon Cummer, he's turning into a dude that we all need to know about. And this Golden Eagle team, they keep playing up, and they keep getting some nice wins to add to their resume.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, yes, they are tied for the most extra base hits in 3A, but you mentioned Cummer and you mentioned that pitching staff. You go down the line, guys like Fodi Orgopoulos and company. We've seen him twice, and he helped stifle Cedar Falls and Western Dubuque. And he did not walk. He had a complete game again in both of those games, if I recall. And he's not. He may be their top guy. I didn't see based off stats that he was the top guy, but then you go ahead and bring in Cummer. You bring in other guys, and every time we've seen them, they've only had to use 1 or 2 pitchers. So they don't dip really deep into that depth, and I feel that depth is strong enough. And they got guys that can really come there. So again, ultimately, they can strike a double and they can trade places just like that. And they strike early, they wait long enough. I've talked to several other coaches, and when we have to put in our thoughts about the toughest teams in the state, our mind, again, from several coaches have said, my mind goes straight to Wahlert because darn are they dangerous. Maybe they used a little colorful words beyond that, but they said they are dangerous, and they're arguably one of the more dangerous teams out there. And you watch it in the doubleheader splits that they have this year, and again, well over 500 in their doubleheader matchup. So yeah, Wahlert, they may not have, they're just doing things as usual, and sometimes they get left out of the mix when teams jump big, like we've seen already this week. But don't be mistaken that Wahlert has remained a top 4 team for a reason.
No doubt. Well, I'm going to reveal number 2 here, and it's going to show Western Dubuque dropping a spot, 3-1 a week. Andrew, means we got a new number 1 team in Class 3A. Western Dubuque, though, I mean, this is it's not a matter, I feel like, of them. What do you think our 3A ranker here was seeing dropping Western Dubuque to number 2? And I'll reveal it to right now. I might as well at the same time. North Polk taking over the number 1 spot, rising 3 spots.
Well, I think in the end, when you look at what happened, I think the weekend really put a spin on it, a unique spin.
Yeah.
In the end, we saw Mount Vernon take down Western Dubuque, and I have a lot to say on Mount Vernon, but Mount Vernon took down Western Dubuque, and I think that if you look into the rankers' mind, that coupled with the fact that North Polk didn't throw out their main aces across the weekend, as I believe, and they still were able to rock it the way they did. And I know you talked beforehand about that they didn't have all their guys in all their normal spots. So the way that they were able to still come through North Polk and beat Prairie, beat Assumption, and I did see that Assumption put out some big studs there on the mound, and they had a lot of their big key pieces, and they still fell. I think that is really telling about where North Polk is at this moment. And so if I had to guess, I would guess that those things coupled together is what made the switch. Ultimately, I think that this is kind of more of a 1A, 1B situation. because I have a hard time looking at Western Dubuque something other than number one, because they win the battle of getting on base, because they are number one in walks, number one in being hit by pitch, and they find a way to get on base constantly, and that's how they win, despite not the glorious numbers that we saw from last year. So yeah, Western Dubuque, I still think as the number one team, but North Polk, you cannot deny that they have earned the right to be at the number one spot as well.
I think that's what makes our rankings really fun. It's kind of like a fresh slate every week. It's not a fresh slate, but each week you're re-examined like and pretty in depthly. I
Yep.
mean, our rankers are taking time, and we've got new number ones pretty frequently, and that's just a testament to the summer of baseball. I mean, every week
Yeah.
someone's playing better than someone. But no, I mean, I saw North Polk both games of the Prangy. I mean, you can rank each team and how their Prangy went. But North Polk picking up wins over Prairie and Assumption, both in come from behind rally fashion, really good games, really intense games, and they didn't throw Cook or Rogge in either of them. So definitely
Yeah.
impressive nonetheless. Again, North Polk taking over your number one spot in Class 3A Week 6. We appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Thursday, be sure to kind of loop around. We'll be posting updates on social media. You're not going to want to miss our instant reaction show. No one across the state of Iowa is doing that. I can promise you that. Live on iSports YouTube, we'll be posting the links. Don't worry, it'll be hard to miss. But yeah, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thursday, big day. But we'll see you guys again next Monday for rankings as well. We'll see you.